Theo Spierings, the CEO of Fonterra, is in the studio with us. This has been a week he won't forget. A mad dash around the world, issuing apologies in China, New Zealand, and I guess to anyone who will listen in the wake of what's quickly become known as the botulism scare. It started when botulism bacteria was discovered in whey powder that was used to make infant formula. Theo Spierings, welcome. Theo, I want to go through the timeline because I'm really confused about this, and I think a lot of people are. May 2012, this contamination took place.
Correct.
Did anyone at the Hotapu plant where the contamination took place know about it then?
As far as we know right now, and we have said today in the press conference as well, that we will investigate and go back. This week was really about confining the problem.
Yeah.
But I can really imagine that the people in Hotapu producing a commodity ingredient, whey powder, that they did not know about it. But it was end of the season, in May.
So what is it? I can quote, I can really imagine. Now, have you asked? I mean, has anyone phoned up and said, when did you guys first suspect this whey was contaminated?
When you produce whey powder, you test. The test is really on a very generic basis because it is a commodity ingredient which normally gets processed in other factories and heat treated again.
Absolutely.
So the checking of these powders is kind of, call it standard. So everything was within spec. So the Hotapu people, in my opinion, had no reason at that point in time to suspect that powder going to our facilities in Darnham, and it was even sold as an ingredient direct to other customers like Coca-Cola.
Okay. So they had no reason to suspect. Why was the pipe cleaned then? Was routine cleaning?
Yeah, that is one of the points really we need to investigate further. That it was end of the season. There was at the last 3 days of the season producing before going into maintenance because there's no milk in the winter period. They were asked to reprocess whey powder. So a temporary setup was made. Normal cleaning was done of the factory. Normal cleaning, what you would normally do with other equipment. But if you don't use equipment every day, it could very well be that that piece of pipe was contaminated and that one cleaning was not sufficient.
Okay. How did you know?
That's what I know right now.
Okay. How did you know it was the pipe?
Once we found in the Darnham factory who used that whey powder.
So this was in March, right? This was a lot later.
Correct.
So we're talking May 2012, the contamination occurred. Yep. March 2013, the contamination was found by the people who were making the infant formula.
Yeah, so that whey powder which we produced, 38 tons, 20 tons was sold direct to other customers, Coca-Cola, Vitaco, all the people we have announced. They have used it in their products and completely safe. But 18 tons went to 2 of our factories producing base powders for infant nutrition. And when you produce these products, your standards of checking go up tremendously. And that's when we saw elevated levels of Clostridia.
But how were you immediately able to isolate a contaminated pipe as the cause, given that this event had taken place months earlier?
When we made that base powder with much more extensive checking, because it's infant nutrition, right? And it's still a semi-finished product, but much more extensive checking, we said, it's still in specification, but we want to know why it's elevated levels. So that was the track of checking the bacteria
and when did that take place, Theo?
That after it was produced in March. So in March 2013, it was checked.
Okay.
Elevated levels, which is very unusual, elevated levels of Clostridia, but within specification. So that product was shipped to our customers to make a final product, so it didn't go to consumers. But at that time we said, let's investigate deeper why there's elevated levels. And when we found Clostridia types, we started to check the factory as well at the same time.
And was the pipe still contaminated?
The pipe, because it's a temporary pipe, there was kind of, you call it milk stone, so it's solidified milk, which is hard stone of protein, which can encapsulate bacteria.
Okay, this simply shouldn't happen, should it?
No.
And it has done damage to Fonterra, but as Liam Dan pointed out, I think this morning in a really good op-ed piece he wrote in the New Zealand Herald, it's done a lot of damage to brand New Zealand across the board, hasn't it?
Brand New Zealand, Fonterra, so the initial impact is always there, John. And that's why I decided to go to our most important market first, because When I got to know the exact type of bacteria, and it is a spore which can develop into a bacteria and which potentially could produce toxin.
When did you first find out?
I heard about it. I was in Europe at that time, so that was very late New Zealand time, 1st of August. That's when I heard the type of bacteria identified.
And so you went straight to China?
And at that moment of time, we said there is a potential food safety risk here. So we have to make sure where are the products, who are the customers. And we found it out in a very short time span. And less than, 15 hours later, we said this is a potential food safety issue, although it's minute.
And we have to point out, so far, no sickness. But...
And no complaints, and no nothing around the world.
I'm sure you've read the Xinhua editorial in the Chinese newspapers having a field day talking about 100% pure being a festering sore and all this kind of... I mean, this is damage. And it's not just damage.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's why I had to go to, in my opinion, to China, because there's a lot of food safety issues there happening over the last so many years. And we really opted to go out because we said food safety, yes, and make it transparent.
Okay.
Make it transparent.
So that's about responding to the problem.
Yes.
We don't have very long left. How do you make sure this never happens again? Full stop.
So this week was the roller coaster, really, John, to make sure that with minute risk, but that I can't run that risk. I'm a father myself, and you really, if something would happen to a child, I mean, that would be, as a human being, disastrous. So we said we have to get this sorted, although difficult, and immediately after this, we will investigate exactly, because we know what happened, but we don't know why, and I want to know why.
Okay.
Yeah? And that cannot take months; that is weeks.
Theo Spierings, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Theo Spierings, the CEO of Fonterra. After the break, how a little knowledge and willpower changed a teenager's life and the lives of the people around him, and hopefully will inspire kids in similar situations.